you'll see there's a connection between sin and smoking or drinking. And what is the sin? Anything that all that is not of faith, the Bible says, is sin. But I can make it more explicit for you. Sin is anything that separates you and makes you doubt what you know is right. See? Now, when you become wrong, when you sin, let's say you get upset, that's a sin. Don't ever think that it isn't. It's not normal to be upset. Doesn't everybody get upset? Someone does something wrong to you? No. The purpose for people doing wrong things is to upset you, and upset implies what it means, to reverse. See, when you're upset, you're turned around, so that instead of your conscience, you're flowing from the mountain to the sea, so that the flow of motivation is from within out. You're cut off from the within, and other people's wills start to act on your mind as if it was your own will. Then comes the excuses. Who understands that? So you do, don't you? The excuses is the truth, is the failing person's truth. For instance, when you become upset, you've actually obeyed the source of your intimidation. You've obeyed. You've disobeyed your conscience. You can't serve two masters. So one of the purposes of the world around you, one of the manipulative ploys, is to cause you to become resentful and angry and judgmental. That's the word. To fill you full of pride by giving you something to hate and to judge, something to irritate you and to feed that pride of yours. But the moment your pride gets fed a temptation, a juicy morsel of temptation, it comes away from its power. It obeys. It starts to obey the spirit of that temptation. See that? There's temptation on the outside. Temptation wants you to do what it wants you to do on earth as it is in hell. Conscience, your own sense of knowing. There's an intelligence or spirit that wants you to do what he wants you to do on earth as it is in heaven. Now there's a tug of war going on, a war for your soul. One of the tricks of people to get you to deny truth and to doubt yourself and to disconnect you from your true self and to make you subject to that other person, the will on earth as it is in hell, and to put in you the kind of person it wants you to be, to serve its purpose, to create its kind of person, beast man, devil's pawn sort of thing. It's resentment, your response to its temptation is your hostility and your hate and your judgment. That separates you from your conscience. So you'll notice, ladies and gentlemen, I'm only dealing with one temptation: hate, resentment, being upset, annoyed, aggravated, irritated. It separates you from the power to overcome evil with good. Jesus said, resist not evil, overcome it with good. Now, he couldn't possibly mean it because he wants you to resist evil. There's a translation error. This is how it should read. Resent not evil, overcome it with good. Because the minute you resent it or hate it, you're separated from the power to overcome it with good. Who understands that? You're good. So now, when you are resentful towards a person, you've surrendered to evil unawares. That's when you feel the conflict. That's when you start to feel guilty. That's when you start to feel the rub of conscience, the sense of failing, the sense of emptiness, the sense of futility, going nowhere, defeat, depression. And that's when you start to smoke, when you start to eat, when you start to drink, to snort coke, right? That's when you start to, the spirit of pride rises in you, doesn't want to admit you're wrong. Because temptation pulls you away from the spirit of humility, puts into you a spirit of pride. And the spirit of pride cannot admit it's wrong. It always wants to be right. Because pride is man wanting to be God. None of us like to admit we're wrong. Once we become wrong, we don't want to admit we are wrong. Therefore we smoke, we drink, we go to church to maintain a sense of right. and never feel like to admit we're wrong.